who is prospective. Thank you, Francis. I knew I would forget. I always forget to record. Thank you. All right, so a quick overview of the sprint program. So it is a 4-week product management training. It provides an in-depth overview of PM discovery and strategy, which you'll see in these presentations. You'll learn about product management fundamentals. You'll be able to brainstorm, ideate, and conduct user research. You'll document your problem space in a spec or product requirement document, which is exactly what our folks from Sprint 18 have done and what led them to their presentations today as well. You'll also get the opportunity to network and get feedback from industry professionals, and it is a prerequisite for the Co.Lab bootcamp program. So for anyone interested in doing the 8-week bootcamp, the Sprint is a great starting point for anyone that doesn't have any product management background or other course learnings. So quickly how it works, it is 4 weeks long, it is part-time, it's cohort-based, as you can see from all the folks joining us today, peer-led and community assisted. So a lot of support from everybody going through it together. There are 4 one-hour sessions each week. So one each week, I should say, over the course of the 4 weeks that are conducted with small groups. The commitment is about 2 to 4 hours of individual classwork per week, and the format is 100% online and remote, as you can see from all the different locations that folks are joining us from today. And lastly, really quickly, for everyone who is completing Sprint 18 and everyone who's potentially joining or everyone who's coming from Sprint 19, this is a big sentiment that we like to express at Co.Lab, that you belong in tech. So please don't forget it. And that's what we're here for. This community is meant to support everybody and let you all know that you belong in tech. So I'm going to stop sharing and we will jump right into the first presentation. I want to pull up my list. So I'll just call on you by name and then I will spotlight you as well. So do make sure that you have your video on. Actually, you know what? I'm just quickly checking. I don't see the first person in the chat. Cheyenne, if you are here, you are the first one to present. So if you, oh yeah, you've got your name.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So I'm going to spotlight you. And I will spotlight the timer as well. That way you'll have an idea of how long your presentation is going, and then we'll switch it over to Q&A after the 3 minutes. So you can get started whenever you're ready. Feel free to share your screen and share your slide deck as well.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. Okay. Have you ever found yourself applying for jobs on multiple platforms and struggling to keep track of your applications? Well, today I want to introduce you to WorkWise, a web extension that simplifies your job search by allowing you to apply for jobs across multiple platforms through a single interface. Job searching can be daunting. It can also be time-consuming. While conducting market research, I found that job seekers tend to use 2 job search websites or more when conducting their job search. I also found that 54% of job seekers feel that searching for a job is a full-time job in and of itself. While conducting my own user research, I found that job seekers crave an easier job application process. They also find it hard to manage all of their applications and don't have a way to stay organized during their job hunt. Keeping that in mind, let's meet Natalie. Natalie is a job seeker who longs for the ability to easily apply for jobs across platforms. When asked what would make her job search experience easier, she states one-click applications that don't require her to type in information the company already has via her resume or cover letter. Now let's meet Luke. Luke is a job seeker who wants to be able to centralize all of his job applications into one place. When asked what would make his job search experience easier, he states, if all the jobs he's applied for were centralized into one place and not spread across different websites and his email inbox. So what's the problem? The problem is that job seekers increasingly use multiple platforms to apply for jobs, and they struggle to keep track of all of their applications. Additionally, job searching is time-consuming, and it leads to frustration and burnout for job seekers. A solution that simplifies the job application process and helps job seekers to stay organized would help alleviate some of the issues I just mentioned. So that's where WorkWise comes in. WorkWise is a Chrome extension that allows users to apply for jobs across multiple platforms through a single interface. It automatically converts your job applications into a working spreadsheet that includes details about your job applications, such as the day you applied, the company name, job title, salary range, and the job description. So how it works, you just add the Chrome extension, upload your resume, and then you choose your job platform. Let's say you choose Indeed, you type in the job you want to search for, and then it'll automatically select all of the jobs on the page. You can go through, unselect any job you don't want it to apply to for you. And then once you're ready, you hit easy apply. It'll automatically apply to all the jobs you still have selected. And then once it applies, it automatically converts them into a working spreadsheet for you. And then you'll get real-time updates such as when your application is viewed, when it's been rejected, and when an interview is scheduled. So overall, WorkWise is the ultimate solution to simplifying your job search process. It's a user-friendly interface, and it has automated spreadsheets to allow you to stay organized and on top of your job applications. Say goodbye to the chaos of job searching and say hello to WorkWise. Overall, Co.Lab has been such a rewarding experience for me. It's taught me to keep an agile mindset, how to evolve as my problem evolves, and that MVPs are vital when building a product because it helps you to avoid waste. Overall, I would do it again, and I highly recommend it. Thanks.
Great job. Thank you so much, Cheyenne. I know it's tough to go first, but you did
I know
awesome.
I wasn't expecting it, but you know, whatever.
It's good to get it done. I know the nerves of presenting for sure. Wonderful. So we'll move on to Q&A. I welcome any questions from our mentors. If anyone else has questions, do feel free to pop them in the chat as well.
I have a question. First of all, great presentation. I really liked the structure that you had for the presentation. I felt like I'm in Shark Tank where you just come in and you pitch the problem that you came up with. So great job on this. I really like the persona as well. I have a question related to the MVP. So how did you decide to go with this specific MVP? And was there something that you decided not to focus on yet, but you would be exploring in the future?
Yeah, so we learned that MVPs help you to avoid waste because it helps you to stay focused on the problems users actually want you to solve. So it taught me that even though I envision WorkWise to do all these things, to strip it down to the bare bones. And so when I was looking at my user research, I really thought about it and synthesized it. And I was like, okay, how can I strip this down and still delight my users? And that's how I decided to address just the easy apply and the spreadsheets, because that's what my users wanted to see the most.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll move on to our next presenter. There is a question in the chat though, Cheyenne, so do feel free to jump in there and answer that. I'll remove everyone's spotlights now, and our next presenter will be Joanna. So I will spotlight you. Go ahead when you're ready.
Alrighty, let me just share my screen real quick. Alrighty, can everybody see me okay? Awesome. Alrighty. Well, yeah, thank you so much for letting me speak on behalf of Driver's Seat. So yeah, my name is Joanna and I am a product manager with Co.Lab Sprint 18. So today I wanted to talk about an app that I've been building as part of the product development lifecycle. So Driver's Seat is a web calendar extension that helps users dedicate time for activities that enhance their mental and physical well-being. So ultimately, we want our users to be in the driver's seat of their lives, in charge of their calendar, time, and overall well-being. So the problem space we wanted to tackle is that, you know, as we enter adulthood and go through life, there is a never-ending challenge of balancing daily life and personal well-being. We know that responsibilities quickly compound and days repeat with free time haphazardly scattered across rest, chores, social activities, and life in general. So we wanted to also combine this with the struggles of the aftermath of COVID-19, as well as hustle culture. So we know that there are toxic habits and attitudes around free time and productivity, resulting in increased levels of burnout, depression, and anxiety. So we wanted to see how much of this is also echoed in our user group. So we have conducted a Google form survey, as well as some user interviews, to see how much of this was echoed. So we know that a good population of individuals felt that well-being is very important, and that they necessarily didn't feel so good about their current use of free time. We also found that while most individuals had more than 10 hours of free time in their calendar, and their most important well-being activity took less than 10 hours, only 50% completed their well-being activity. So we have built DriverWire. I'm saying Cheyenne is a product, I feel like, sorry, driver's seat, in order to tackle the questions and build more confidence and ownership around individuals' times and schedules, for individuals to prioritize spending time on activities that make them feel good and improve their well-being, and build sustainable habits and attitudes so that they can spend time on protected activities that make sense for them and that makes them feel good. So our prototype will be allowing individuals to block out their baseline calendars and their existing web calendar, whether it's Google Calendar or iCalendar, and enter preferences and existing routines that they have. Based on their preferences in terms of favorite activities and whatnot, we hope to visualize what recommendations we have to best fit around their existing calendar, some well-being activities that maximize their well-being. So yeah, learned lots from this opportunity. I think the biggest takeaway for me was the struggles of defining a strong problem space. Without defining that, the solution can be quite useless in terms of actually addressing a problem that our users have. So yeah, learned lots of struggles as well. But yeah, thank you.
Awesome job. Thank you so much for your presentation. I felt a little called out of the research part, so I think a lot of people can identify with this problem for sure, I hope. Wonderful. So we'll move on to Q&A portion. Again, if any of our mentors have questions, I will spotlight you, and feel free to ask more questions in the chat, folks.
I have a question regarding your research. I'm curious if there are kind of more common amongst like a certain demographic. You know, are you looking at? Oh, wow, I have like a wrong background. I just realized. But anyway, yeah, are they mostly like people that are kind of around the same age or like working professional? Or it's across like a spectrum of, I guess, background and ages.
Yeah, so when we collected the data, we saw that most individuals did fall into the range of 20 to 40. We did see whether this was common across, females, males, things like that. Of course, we only had a small sample group to work with, but this did stretch across all of the ranges. It did skew across, the younger groups, because that was what we ended up user surveying. But yeah.
No, that makes sense. I can definitely agree that like I resonate with the problem space as well, for sure.
Yeah.
And for, I guess, just a follow-up question on that. So given that your population, so I'm guessing it will be people that are like already working, given the age.
Yeah. Exactly. So this is supposed to help individuals who already have really busy daily lives. I do think the challenge will come around when, an individual has childcare, when things are not set in stone in a routine. So yeah, definitely kind of focused around the working individual for sure.
No, it sounds like you already have some like personas developed, so that's helpful. Yeah. Working individuals and also people that have kids that need to manage their time, for sure. Awesome. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Joanna. I will unspotlight you, and we will move on to our next presentation, which is BOMO. I will add your spotlight. Now, go ahead.
Can everyone hear me? Sweet. Okay, so my name is Bomo Ekesbif, and I am a project manager for Co.Lab Sprint 18, and my product is called First Plate, which is an app that allows parents to track their infants' first meals. Being a parent, or at least a new parent, is a full-time job. And at a particular point, which is about the 6-month mark, your child has to start solids. And it can be very daunting already for a human being to figure out what you like, what you don't like, and just how to create variety in your meal. So doing that for a child already is a lot of work. And the problem here is that there is no convenient or reliable way for parents to properly track the meals that their infants eat when they start them on solids. And speaking with new parents or current parents with children under 2, I found that 75% of them say they take mental notes of what they give to their child, or what they give to their children, and about 12% say they don't keep notes at all. While 75% mention that there is an importance in keeping track of your child's meal, which means that they would like to keep track, but they don't really have a way to keep track, and which boils down to my product. And a solution is an app that allows parents to be able to enter the food items that they introduce to their child, and also to take note of their infant's reaction to the meal. So you want to take note of if they like the food, if they don't like it, if they have any allergic reaction to it. If, for example, they leave a particular item for last. And then this would also inform parents on the trend of what their children like, so they know how best to introduce meals to their children. And I think that's the general idea of the product. So this is a demo that a prototype that I worked on for this product. And also with parents with multiple children, they'll be able to create multiple profiles for different children, just so you are able to track the eating habits of each child individually. And it would also help with introducing variety in meals for children from a young age. So it also reduces selectivity in children growing up. And so far, my learnings in this program is that it's important to understand the problem space instead of just jumping into a solution, because if you understand the problem and talk to users, you're able to provide a solution that answers their problem. And the MVP is a good way to start with your product, because then you're able to take something to market and then talk to customers giving you feedback, and then you know how best to iterate and improve your product. Yeah, that's all.
Great job. Awesome. I said it before in the beginning when we first started out with your survey as well. This is definitely a huge problem. I know a lot of people who've just had babies who are always talking about keeping track of what they feed them and how that goes. So awesome to see. Your mock-ups look incredible too. So Great job. Wonderful. We'll move on to the Q&A. And if any mentors have questions, I will spotlight them. Everyone else, do pop your questions in the chat. Seeing tons of great feedback from everybody so far too.
Awesome. Yeah. So I do like your presentation quite a bit. I think, and I appreciate that you talked about kind of trends and how, kids evolve a lot, and, you need to track like what's changing. I think that's actually a very neat insight that you have there. And you also accounted for the fact that people have like different children. I'm curious to see kind of what this, I think you have a very clear like MVP defined, and then what will be the next iteration of it, or where you see it evolving? Like what would be your vision for it down the road?
Evolving, I think one thing that would be good would be to have recipes, because I spoke with my sister-in-law, and she mentioned that one thing that she would have loved to know was if he liked something, he doesn't like it, and then how best to reintroduce something he doesn't like. So I think having recipes so you can reintroduce an item that they didn't like before, and then just to see how you can creatively input something into their diet that they might not even know that is there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That makes sense. I think someone in the chat says like can we add a doctor side of the dashboard so that they can push content? So there are some
Oh,
like,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Wonderful. There's another one too, where someone's suggesting adding nutritional articles for moms to read on the app.
Yes, I think that's another one I had in mind. It's just there's little time with the 4 weeks, and like to put everything in, but no, the MVP that's the MVP, and then iterating, yes, articles, recipes. Yeah, that would be the next step for the product.
Awesome. It's always great to look ahead and also to know your boundaries in the 4 weeks as well too.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, great job presenting. Thank you so much. I will remove your spotlight, and next up we have Adam.
Awesome. I'll just share. There's so many amazing presentations. So I'm in, it's really impressive. So I'm in Co.Lab Sprint 18, product manager. The title of the app that I was working on is Sojourn. Basically being able to discover travel partners while solo traveling, or also supporting the large and growing digital nomad community. I began with a problem space of, I spent the past summer solo traveling, and I went to Portugal and Spain and up to Scandinavia, and the existing, I also interviewed a cohort of other people that volunteered when I posted on LinkedIn, and there's a ton of people that are solo traveling ever since COVID especially. And there's a big gap in the resources that are available for like an age group that's above 25, basically, of people that might not want to party all the time, or are looking for like romance or flings while traveling, because the main two resources that people tend to use are either hostels or dating apps. Which makes sense because one is a little more organic, and it makes it easy to find people, and one is basically what I'm proposing, but specifically for romance. Some additional data is just how large this segment is and growing. I won't go into all of these, but basically the digital nomad movement especially grew by 42%, and the search term solo travels increased by 267%. The solution is Sojourn. The name is stemmed from the word itself means travel, but so for solo and journ for journey. Basically, it would use algorithms to be able to match travelers based on manual inputs. So someone could put in an itinerary. Let's say they know where they're arriving and they know where they're leaving, and they have like 1 or 2 cities in between that they're visiting, but they have gaps. Anyone else that has similar gaps or similar general plans and personality types, budget ranges, and wish lists, they can get matched through an algorithm that'll help pair everyone together. I have some mock-ups of just very rough of what it could look like in terms of steps, and the end output are being kind of a feed of potential matches of like, hey, if you want to go to Vietnam after Japan, these are some people that might be around, and you can plan accommodations with, or just chat beforehand to see if you vibe. You can also just start with a dinner and then see if you want to do more together, since you'll be in the same country. The competitive landscape is, right now, there's nothing that's quite hits this mark. TripAdvisor doesn't have a community feature. Meetup is more domestic. Gaffle's the closest, but it doesn't have an algorithm. So it really takes a lot of manual work to sift through everyone. And that's my quick presentation. In terms of what I got out of Co.Lab, I would say the biggest thing is just such an awesome network of people. The mentors I got awesome advice from, the peers. I feel like I have a few people out of the group that I would feel very comfortable reaching out to even 6 months down the line, just to get feedback on an idea or have a kind of soundboard to work with. So like the content's awesome. The peer group is really invaluable.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for your presentation and that really heartfelt learning as well too. Great job. I'll move on to the questions. Again, I will spotlight any mentor that has a question, and anyone else, please pop them in the chat.
Hi, David. I love your idea of your app. It's also very fun that you have Vietnam in your presentation because I am from Vietnam too.
Oh, great.
I'm from Hanoi, Vietnam, and so that was very fun to see that on. I would I want to ask, because a lot of solo travelers don't speak the same language, how would you be able to group the different groups of people who speak different languages into your app?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think in terms of MVP of like initial segment to target, like as the launch, it'd probably be focused on getting users that do share a language. And so it would probably be, I think also English has become like a bit of a unifying language. I remember being in Germany and like someone from like France was talking to someone from Copenhagen, but they were speaking in English. So I think that I would just focus on starting there and then expanding and letting users find one another.
Good. I think that's a great idea. Also love that you reach out to people on LinkedIn to ask about their experience too. So I think those are very good work that you have done over there. Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Well, thank you.
Great. Awesome job. Thank you so much, Lan. I'll remove your spotlight. There's a few comments in the chat as well too, and we will move on to our next presentation, which is Dominique. Actually, I do see a question in the chat now, so you can answer that in there as well. So I'll remove your spotlight, and Dominique, I will spotlight you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Hopefully everyone can give me a thumbs up quickly. If you see it. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Beth. Appreciate it. All right. So my experience at Co.Lab, I got the opportunity to create an app called Pantry Pal, and well, not formally create it, but definitely create this idea for Pantry Pal. And I'm sorry if you're hungry, I know it's lunch, but we're going to talk a little bit about food and how you can get creative ideas right at your fingertips using Pantry Pal and stop letting your food go to waste, start to save a bit of money. And this is all by just selecting items that you currently already have in your fridge. So let's take a look at my journey and how I arrived at Pantry Pal. So firstly, starting with understanding a little bit more about the problem, I really wanted to talk about food waste because it's, to me, a huge problem that we see, I'm sure, every day. And I want to focus in on the food waste that's generated from Canadian households. So on average, the average size family in Canadian households waste about 140 kilograms each year on food. And if you're more of like into pounds conversion, that's about 300 pounds each year. And in total, it's about 2.3 million tons of wasted food on a yearly basis that's generated from Canadian households. And one thing that might contribute to this, or not might, I found out that it does, is that we usually just don't know what to do with our food. As in we don't cook it, we just kind of let it go to waste and we end up ordering out instead. And there's a few different reasons that drive that. So some of the user data that I collected, I found out that 70% of participants had thrown out food within the last 2 weeks. I also found out that 75% of participants had mentioned that lack of time is definitely a pain point in their weekly meal prep. And 50% mentioned that if they had ideas for what to cook based on current ingredients in their home, it would be easier for them to cook at home. And 50% of participants end up doing takeout when they can't think of what to cook. So with all of this in mind, and also through a user interview, which I'll just quickly highlight because I know I'm running out of time, I talked to Mindy, who shared that it would just be perfect for her. She could go to her kitchen and have access to an easy recipe within a matter of minutes. So this is where I came up with my solution, which is a mobile app that delivers recipe ideas for the exact ingredients you already have in your kitchen. And essentially, this was my mock-up. You could go ahead, search the ingredients very simply, select them just by tapping it. and it will come up with recipes for you that you can filter through based on the complexity as well as time commitment, and it will consider also any dietary restrictions you might have. So this was my solution that I came up with. During my product management sprint, I was able to really focus on the problem space a lot more. I think I come up with so many great solutions, but I forget about the problem 9 times out of 10. So I think it really let me understand the importance of going back, focusing on the problem as much as possible, and learning as much as you can about your user. And just to highlight as well the build in public piece, because before I didn't really use my LinkedIn in that capacity, but I started to do it a little bit more, building in public and just sharing my ideas, because it helps get credibility and also gain support for whatever you're about to launch. So thank you, Co.Lab, for the great experience, and I'll take any questions.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your presentation. So glad you called out the build in public piece as well. That makes me so happy to hear. Any questions from our mentors?
Hi, Dominique. Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious to see what are other features that you had to cut after kind of, going back to your research and trying to narrow down the scope of your product.
Thanks for the question. I think in terms of features, like sometimes you just think of all these outlandish things like people might want, and it's just not the case, unfortunately. Like maybe like in my head, I was thinking, okay, let me just focus on one like specific cuisine, for example. But sometimes people want to explore. And I think that was a feature that I had originally in my head for this. And I just said, let me just keep it straightforward, and they can browse from a variety of cuisines versus just keeping it so specific.
And in terms of the solution, how are you thinking of sourcing these like recipes?
That's a great question as well. This could be taken just like off the internet, for example. There's so many great resources of recipes there, but you could also work with collaborating with like chefs or different restaurants even to think of different ideas that they can come up with and plug it into the app.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I have. Good job presenting. I think you defined it well and it's very concise. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, great job. Thank you so much. I know the timer can be a little stressful too, but you took it gracefully and made it work. That was awesome. Wonderful. We'll move on to our next presenter, which is Aman. I will spotlight you.
Hi, everyone. This is Aman, and I'll quickly start my presentation. 1 second. Okay, so my bad. Right. So hi everyone. So at Kosh, we want to basically simplify e-commerce product listings by giving them a platform which automates page deployment and management, saving them hours of time and effort. Let's take an example. This is Joe. He has an e-commerce store called J Audio, hosted on Shopify. He is listing over 90 products from a brand called EarSeal. Now he needs at least on average 30 minutes to list a product. And this is backed by the data of, interviewee research, what we did. As you can see, one of the poll data we have shown on the screen. So what options does he have? He has an option to do it by himself, spending 445 hours, my bad, or outsourcing it to someone else, which he might not have control to and still has the problem of coordinating with them over the period of time. So this is an example, as I said. Now let's get in a little bit of detail. So today platforms let you set up e-commerce stores and empowers you to start your business, but manually adding correct product data through the life cycle of the store is repetitive, continuous, and tiring process, and its inefficiency could result in higher operational cost or negligent sales. On the other side, the problem for brands is similar. Sharing the product data across the channels is not quick and organized for them. So it just, hinders their scalability. Second part is, monitoring the data, which if is inaccurate on any of their sales channels, which is very bad for the brand image, is a job in itself. And To back the problem, we have highlighted some of the research insights. As you can see, more than 60% of brands say that at least they have seen once on the retail sales channel that there has been some problem. We want to focus on Shopify initially as for our MVP, targeting electronic and fashion stores. For same way for brands, we want to target initially which has small team and has at least 5 retail sales channels. So our solution is basically very simple, have 2 dashboards, one of brand and one of retailers. And the brands basically push in the data and retailers just put in the price and it's listed on their website. They don't need anything to edit because it's coming from the source to the end. Yeah, so some of the learnings which are there from Co.Lab is ideate, research, build, and repeat. It's a continuous process. We have to keep going and doing it. And for user stories, I learned a lot. We need to be very precise. And if the user stories are getting big, we should just break it down to 2. I'll keep doing my market research and MVP building and grow through the process of being an PM. Thanks, Co.Lab, and my mentor, Emily, for the feedback. It's amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. Great job. Thank you so much. I don't know a ton about e-commerce, so it was really enlightening to learn that it takes people so long to upload items. Wow. So definitely there's a problem there that needs a solution. That's wonderful. All right, we'll open it up to any questions from our mentors. And again, folks, if you have questions, do pop them in the chat so that the presenter can go in and answer those too.
Hi, Aman. Thank you for your, I love your product idea. I think it's very new, and I wonder where do you get your motivation, or when did you find out that this is a huge problem to sellers?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So I work with an external team. So one of that member actually has an e-commerce store and he has like 12 million products on his store. So this problem came from there. Every time he needed to scrape the data somehow, and scraping is not legal in every part of the world. So it is a challenge. So now legalizing that data, which is accessible to anyone easily by a brand hosting it on our platform, is an easy solution to get over that. And like manually adding all those millions of products is a lot of work anyway. And it could be very small product like an electronic circuit board, but you still need description because if it goes wrong, someone could order something which is not useful for them.
Okay, great. I love that you're also, when you talk about your e-commerce product, I thought that you will be a competitor to already existing e-commerce stores, but you're going to be a tool to help those e-commerce stores, which is already something, you already have an existing pool of customers over there. So that is something that is very nice. And yeah, I like your product and I want to see how it turns out.
Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, we are thinking to push the MVP next couple of months. So I'd love to have a look of you if you wish. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks for the feedback. Amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Remember to build in public when you do push your MVP so that everyone can provide a second look and support you as well. Great. All right. Thank you for your presentation. I'll remove your spotlight and we will move on to Cindy. Go ahead when you're ready.
All right, can everybody see my screen? Yep, okay, thank you. All right, hi everyone, I'm Cindy. Today I will be talking to you about Plan Away, a app to help you plan away the details so that you can focus on the fun and to help travel planning made easy. So have you been super excited to go on vacation? Your flight is booked, you're excited to see the sights and you're ready to go. But wait, you have to create an itinerary and decide when to go to each activity. You have no idea where anything is located or when places are open. Now you're stuck spending hours researching and planning routes for a city that you've never been to. So if this is something that you've struggled with before, you're not alone. In survey responses, 76% of users place a high importance on a well-optimized itinerary, but actually only 20% create that itinerary where they plan each meal, every activity, and how to get to each spot. So this suggests that optimization is important for a pleasant vacation experience, but many don't plan in that much detail. So why is it that users prefer to have a detailed itinerary but rarely create one? In user interviews, we saw that people use several different products to search up activity locations and hours of operation. They then have to note this information on a separate product and then manually plot out routes on a different mapping tool. So this is one of the longest processes when planning a vacation and the most tedious. Okay, so meet Lucy. Lucy loves to take time off work to travel to different cities and relax. She has specific activities in mind and has ideas of where she wants to go. But as a last-minute planner, she often arrives at her destination with a list of activities and no idea where to start. Lucy is worried about not being able to see as much as possible. And her goals and stressors are listed on the slide. This is Leah. Leah is our second user persona. They are an energetic person who enjoys traveling. They plan their trips well ahead of time, and the itineraries are very extensive and thoughtful. However, researching those routes is tiring and takes a lot of effort. But Leah is a person who needs to have an itinerary before they go on vacation to feel secure. So Leah wants to have a route presented first and make small changes based on their personal preferences. So Plan Away will help you turn your list of activities into a well-optimized, thoughtful itinerary that uses geographic location to decrease time spent from going from activity A to activity B so that you can visit all your activities. Travelers will no longer need to spend long periods of time researching all the best routes. Plan Away will arrange and present the most optimized pathing for your vacation. Activities will be sorted into different days and time slots to automatically help travelers, will be sorted automatically to help travelers stay organized. And then for my personal learnings from the Co.Lab program, most importantly, focusing on the problem, narrowing down my mindset into something that can be turned into the most basic MVP, and focusing on the problem space before thinking of solutions. Also spec writing, this is my first time writing a spec document, and synthesizing user data would be my third learning. I knew I had a new mindset when I went into user interviews after showing them the mock-up, that I was able to decipher what their pain points were without them explicitly telling me what they were. Yeah, that's all.
Great job. Thank you so much. Wonderful presentation as well. A lot of people are saying that they love the travel apps, and definitely there's always a need for that to work through. And I like that you've done it with the GPS location as well too. All right, we'll open it up to questions from any of our mentors.
Thanks, Cindy, for the presentation. I think there's a group of us that like really enjoy traveling in Co.Lab. So I like that you kind of have a very clear workflow of like what the existing state is and kind of how you plan to transform it. It's very helpful to kind of demonstrate like, I guess how your product would fit into it or kind of improve the flow. And also I think you did a good job splitting personas by behavior and kind of outlining their respective pain points as well. So in terms of the optimizer, are there other considerations that would go into, or other, I guess, like factors that would go into the optimizer aside from just like GPS location and routes?
Yeah, so I think the GPS location would be the most basic, because while I was building this, I was thinking about the boot camp and only having 8 weeks. So I was like, okay, let's just do the most basic version, which is focusing on the location. But I think in iterations, it would be nice to have like business hours as well. Like, for example, some restaurants only open after 5. So then the optimizer would not tell you to go there for lunch, and it'll tell you to go there for dinner instead. And things like that are something that would be bonuses on top of the MVP, and that would come afterwards. Yeah.
Certainly. I'm glad that you're prioritizing. Time and resources is very limited.
Yeah.
And my other question is, what other competitor solutions have you researched, given that, there are a lot of products out there tackling the travel space?
Yeah, for sure. So there's definitely a lot of other products that already exist. So for example, like TripAdvisor, who helps to recommend different things. But there are also specific planning products for example, Wanderlog or TripIt, they are mostly focusing on planning or helping you to lay out like the structure of your itinerary. They don't exactly help you with like figuring out which order to go to, or figuring out like, okay, this A and B are very close together. You should go to them like one after the other. They don't really focus on doing that part of it. It's sort of more the organization aspect. So I think Plan Away is focusing on the optimization aspect that current products currently don't offer.
Awesome. Glad you found a niche. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again for your presentation. I'll remove your spotlight and we're on to our last presentation. Last but not least, Matt, I will spotlight you. Go ahead when you're ready.
Okay. Okay. So my product is called Prompted Plates. The name comes from like asking some questions and providing a list, then you ultimately eat based on what is selected. When my product is mainly focused on like helping groups decide what to eat and then how to factor that in a cost-effective way to go to a grocery store with a list and like creating and automatically generating that list. It's really focused on saving people time. When you're trying to do something like this, there's various different challenges, deciding what to eat. There's like really in the group decision, there's people that have multiple different preferences, and sharing, when it comes time to the list generation, there's challenges about what if I miss something that I need to make the particular item. That was pretty common. And what I did for my user surveys is that people reported that they missed certain things. So really trying to save some time there. In terms of user data, from my survey is, what I realized is that 50% of the people go to the grocery store bi-weekly. So if there's the need, so this is at least a product that would be used at the bare minimum bi-weekly by 50% of people, 41% of people, I did a lot of questions around different factors on what people thought were important when it comes to either like selecting meals or like different factors on like the list generation aspect. So I looked at things like time, cost, and dish waste. So like how many dishes it actually makes. That a lot of people actually don't think about that is what I realized. So I kind of deprioritized that in my MVP. 70% of people actually plan what they go to the grocery store. I thought that number was actually lower than what I expected when I was asking people. So I don't know, to the rest of you guys that just kind of go to the grocery store, that's kind of impressive and figure it out. 68% of people, don't want to cook every meal. So when I was thinking about my MVP, I was thinking through like, is there a way to suggest meals that maybe you cook at dinner time? And then when it's lunchtime, you have leftovers. So thinking about suggestions like that, and that really plays into the factor of the questions that I present. So my high level product flow is really the user sign up. There's like questions. I talked about the different factors. There's going to be some kind of periodic questions as people kind of re-enter the app. And that's because people's preferences change over time. And like really, I want to really spend some time, if I pursue this idea, thinking through the group preference questions and like how to like interact with multiple people other than the initial person signing up with inside the household. And then the meal presentation, I had some early ideas on how I would present meals, like different like decision matrices and stuff like that. Some metrics on the selection. So walking through, sign up, the meal presentation, selection, and list creation at the end. So thanks. Any questions?
Wonderful. Great job. Such a unique problem to solve. I mean, it's an interesting space. We all have to eat and we all have to figure out how to eat. I agree with you on the people who don't plan about going to the grocery store. I don't know how they do it. I would walk out with only chips. Any questions from our mentors?
Hello. Yeah, great presentation. I have a question. You mentioned that you already, based on your research, you dropped some of the features, but if you can drop even more of the features, what would you drop?
So in terms of like the basic functionality that I already talked about, what I would really like to explore is gamification in the future and really like usage-based metrics on coming back to the app and keeping it like consistently used and trying to create an experience where they keep coming back and in the form of gamification or some other reason that they would want to keep coming to the app, something that they wouldn't normally get throughout the process.
Okay, so this is kind of building up for after the MVP.
Yeah.
But let's say that you have a case now where you're going to have a team and you need to build this idea that you've currently set up to build, and you cannot do everything. So how would you then strip down this solution?
I would
Is
strip
there a
down.
specific feature that you think that's not that important compared
Yeah,
to
I would strip away a lot of the different factors that I initially looked at, and I would really focus on the questions and the meals being presented, and then like trying to figure out the easiest way to get a list of recipes, either like pulling data into a database or something like that. And then that would be like, I guess, the minimum portion of what I was trying to accomplish.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. That's great. I have a quick question because there's a few seconds left. What was your biggest learning or your favorite part of the sprint program? What would you say?
My favorite part of the sprint program is definitely the people. First of all, learning Notion was interesting. I like the different lessons, the videos. I like that. I'm a big video person when it comes to learning, but definitely the networking would be my favorite.
Awesome. That's so great to hear. I love hearing that everybody has a great time with their cohort members as well. Really supportive community, really building each other up too. Great. Awesome job. Thank you so much for presenting. I know you were last minute notified and you did a great job jumping right in. Awesome. All right. So we will wrap up. Thank you so much for attending. We've got a few minutes left, so I'll just do a really quick wrap up. I appreciate you taking your lunchtime, or if it's a different time of day for you, I appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to spend this time with us to see all these amazing presentations. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I'm so proud of everyone who presented today, as well as everyone who went through the Sprint 18 program, all of your hard work over the last 4 weeks. 4 weeks is not a long amount of time, and you've been able to grow and learn and present so much information. Really amazing job. For those of you who continue into the Co.Lab Bootcamp program with us, I'm really excited to see where you go next. And for those of you who don't, definitely stay connected on LinkedIn, keep building in public, keep sharing what you're doing, because we'd be happy to support and connect with you in those ways too. Again, that's pretty much it. Super proud of you all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I can't wait to see where you all go next. And last, but definitely not least, you belong in tech. And please don't ever forget. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Beth. Thanks,
Thank
Beth.
you, Beth.
Thank you. Bye.
Best.
Thanks,
What
bye.
if I didn't show my presentation and we won't have any another show tells like the last one?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we did have to narrow down the presenters. We only had an hour to present. I wish everybody would have the opportunity to be able to, but we have, otherwise it would take us half of a day, unfortunately. But we do have your recorded presentation that will be uploaded on our website. So feel free to share that. You can share it in our community and build in public and share it as well too.
Thank you. Well, got you.
All right, wonderful. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.